Well, another week down and another Georgia game in the books. Georgia wins on the road against Auburn 27-20. Not exactly how I predicted it, what I was expecting. I was expecting Georgia to look a little bit better, have a full, complete game on both sides of the ball, and they didn't. They didn't. They squeaked this one out in a late fourth quarter win, come from behind win. So that's good that Georgia won. But there's a lot of things that I liked and didn't like about this game. We have still yet to see Georgia play a full four-quarter complete game on both sides of the ball. We haven't seen it yet. There are 5 games of the 2023 season. We haven't seen Georgia play that. And I will be honest, it is a little worrisome. I get Auburn played their hearts out. Auburn played really well. And it was in Auburn. That crowd was intense. But there were some things I liked about this game and things I didn't like about this game. One thing I liked was that Georgia did show good composure. They did find a way to win. They were losing this entire game until late in the fourth. And that crowd in Auburn was very hostile. They were very loud the entire game. And Georgia found a way to win. It was ugly, but they found a way to win. They got a good stop on their last drive and pulled out a victory. And again, I'm still coming away from this game not too sure how to feel about this Georgia team for 2023. I don't get it. I didn't expect Auburn to score as many points as they did. I flat out predicted 38-10. So I predicted 48 points. 47 points were scored in this game. I just got where the points went wrong. I didn't expect Auburn to be able to move the ball on Georgia. And the score is a little deceiving. Now you look at this game, you think 27-20. Auburn was able to score on Georgia with relatively ease. And that wasn't really the case. It's not like Auburn drove the complete field, easily on Georgia. They really weren't able to do that. Auburn capitalized on a couple of Georgia's mistakes, and they put it in for scores. And that's what you need to do, plain and simple. So this game still has me scratching my head. It still has me a little bit confused on what to make of this Georgia team in 2023. And I don't think this team knows who they are. I don't know if they know what their identity is. I think at this point their identity is a come-from-behind, gritty team, low-scoring team that you can never count them out. Because so far, through their toughest 2 games, South Carolina and Auburn, they've found themselves down early, and they found a way to claw back into the game and win. If that's going to be this Georgia team all season long, it's going to be a stressful team for Georgia fans. But I have a bunch of stats here that some research, some notes that I did. I want to go through it, to talk about it, to discuss it, because like I said earlier, I still through 5 weeks, I don't know how to feel about this team. They were so confusing. So Georgia Georgia kicks off the ball first half to Auburn. Auburn goes out. They don't score. We get a good stop on defense. Georgia receives the ball, and we drive down the field and make it look pretty easy. Driving like our offense looks good, and I'm excited and I'm pumped. I'm like, okay, sweet, yes, we drove into Auburn territory. We're looking good. It doesn't look like they can stop us. Auburn still looks a little scatterbrained. They're not fully sure what to do. And they get us in a third and, I have it here, a 3rd and 4 kind of drive. 3rd and 4. And Georgia has 3 receivers to the top of the screen. So imagine you're watching the football game. You got Georgia with 3 receivers to the top of the screen, no receivers to the bottom, and we're in a 1 running back behind Carson Beck. We decide to run the ball up the middle with Auburn crowding the box. They are stacking the box full out. They're basically, even with the 3 receivers to the top of the screen, Auburn is selling out to stop the run. And what does Georgia do on a 3rd and 4 with good momentum on offense? We run it up the middle right into that crowded box. We get stopped. And we get pushed back, and we have to punt. 0-0. And then the very next drive for Auburn, we punt the ball, and we punt it deep into Auburn territory. I mean, they're down at like their, I think they're down at like their 5-6 yard line. They're backed up deep in their own end zone, in their own half of the field. And, I mean, you got to give credit to Peyton Thorne. I didn't expect him to be able to have the rushing game that he had. I mean, quarterback pull. He goes to fake it off, like handoff to his running back. He pulls the ball, and he goes for a 61-yard run. 61-yard run. And that one run alone spells damage for our defense. Because for the rest of the game, you could watch, for the rest of the game, Georgia is constantly worried about that, but they still weren't able to stop it. There were still multiple times. There's a big 4th down later in the game where they basically ran the same exact play, but instead of picking up 61 yards, they only picked up 4 yards, but it was just enough to pick up the 1st down on a 4th down. Those kind of things that just can't happen. So Auburn picks up a big, huge 61-yard run, a quarterback run. They drive down the field on their second drive, and they kick a field goal, go up 3-0. I've got the Sunday night football game in the back. And they go up 3-0. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. A busted play in coverage. Someone's got to be able to spy the quarterback, watch the quarterback. Don't allow the quarterback to get that many, like, let alone don't let him get out of the pocket, contain him. But definitely don't let him get 61 yards on one play. Our next drive, we come out. Our first drive, I completely put it on the play calling. That play calling on 3rd down was atrocious. I don't understand how you call that play. Second drive, completely on Carson Beck. He comes out, and on the very first play of the second drive, 1st and 10, wide open, Oscar Delp down the middle, would have been a touchdown all day. Carson Beck is not pressured. He's not hurried. There's no Auburn defender even close to Carson Beck. And he just overthrows Oscar Delp down the middle. Just overthrows him by a good margin, by like 5 yards. And I've noticed that a lot. That seems to be Carson Beck's struggle. His weakness is like down the middle passes, over the middle passes, leading the receiver. Anytime he has to throw over his center to lead the receiver in the middle of the field, he seems to overthrow. Almost like he's trying to compensate for the throw, and he's just overthrowing it. He wasn't rushed. I could understand, like, maybe if he was rushed, he was on his heels, and he was getting sacked as he threw the ball, but he wasn't. He just overthrew Oscar Delp down the middle for a wide open. I mean, that was an easy touchdown. And so that's 1st and 10. Okay, that's fine. Bless me. 2nd and 10, comes out, throws an interception. Now, I don't blame Carson Beck for that interception. It was a 50-50 ball. I mean, it was right there. It was a little to the outside of the receiver, so maybe you want it more closer to your receiver's chest, but it was very close. Either way, interception. Auburn gets a turnover. And within 3 plays, because they're at their own, right here, they get an interception at their own, at Georgia's 48. So they have 48 yards to the touchdown. Auburn does. 3 plays, they run on the field, touchdown, making it 10-0. At this point, I'm furious. I'm frustrated. What is going on? Like, again, offense not doing anything in the beginning. We're down already. We're on the road. This is supposed to be a good game for Georgia to come out and show that they can play a complete game, and we find ourselves down 10-0 on the road. First quarter, what do? Third drive for Georgia. They do get the ball. They do go down. They score a touchdown. They make the score 10-7. I think it is a 11-play drive. They make it look easy, 10-7. And, I mean, we end up going into the halftime, I think, 10-10 going into the halftime. So, at this point, Georgia has showed good composure. They went down 10-0. They stuck with it. They fought hard. They got some really good stops on defense. Offense crawled back, evened out the score. And one positive note is that Georgia's kicker made a 32-yard field goal. Thank you. At this point, I'll take a 3-yard field goal for Georgia. So it's tied, 10-10, going into the half. Georgia gets the ball at the second half. I'm thinking, great. Georgia can come out, score on their first drive, make it 17-10, score a touchdown, making it 17-10, suffocate them on defense, start to pull away. You're still looking at probably around that 38-10 score of what I predicted. I predicted Georgia to win 38-10, pulling away late second quarter in the second half. I was like, that's still kind of right along of what I was expecting. Georgia cleans up the turnovers. They clean up the simple mistakes. They can pull away from this game, make it a good second half. First drive out, turnover. Auburn gets the ball. I mean, you can't make this up. I'll start the second half. We fumble on our own 37-yard field line. Auburn gets it. 3-play drive again. Go down and score 17-10. And basically from there on out to the end of the game, it's just a Georgia playing catch-up. We score. Auburn scores because of what we did. Because of a mistake that we made. We eventually end up being able to take the game late into the fourth. Our defense does get some good stops. We take them late into the fourth. Georgia pass from Carson Beck to Brock Bowers. Goes for the go-ahead score, and we win. We stop them late in the fourth on defense. Georgia wins 27-20. And I do have the stats here of the game. And this is why it's still so confusing to me, because Georgia's stats are now, Georgia did win, and their stats are better than basically what Auburn's are. But, and maybe it's because of the turnovers. You take away the turnovers, you're looking at a different ball game. But regardless, turnovers happen, and you shouldn't allow turnovers. And if you get turnovers, you should capitalize. That's basically what Auburn did. Auburn didn't turn the ball over. They turned the ball over in their very last drive. But they forced turnovers, and Auburn capitalized on those turnovers. So the one good thing that I can say coming out of this game is that it does seem that Georgia has good composure. They get rattled. They stay in it. They get punched in the face, and they don't back down. They stay composed. They stay poised. And they play each play basically like it's not their lab. Like, they don't try to be heroes. They do their jobs. They do their assignments. They take it one play at a time. And that's good to see. But they've still yet to play a full game on both sides of the ball. They have still yet to look dominating this year through 5 games. And they haven't really played anyone of good talent, I guess. I mean, like, not to be disrespectful against South Carolina or Auburn. I mean, those are 2 tough teams, but you would expect to see a little bit more dominance coming from Georgia. And we just haven't seen that yet from Georgia. And, I mean, I have the stats here for each team. I mean, Auburn, 219 rushing yards, Georgia, 107. Was a little surprised at that. I expected Georgia to be able to run the ball a little bit better. I knew Auburn had a good defense, but I wasn't expecting only 107 rushing yards for Georgia. Georgia averaged 3.6 yards a rush. Auburn 5.1. I don't like that. I feel like our defense has been pretty good at stopping the run. And 5.1 yards average on the run for our defense is just, it's not, you want to see that a little bit better. You want to see them clean that up. Both Georgia and Auburn had 2 rushing touchdowns. Passing yards, this is what basically sealed the game. Georgia Carson Beck came out and passed for 313 yards. Auburn only passed for 88 yards. 88 passing yards. So I knew going into the game that Auburn's offense was going to stall out. They weren't going to be able to move the ball very well in Georgia's defense. They can't move the ball in general. 88 passing yards a game is fucking atrocious. It's atrocious. That's horrible numbers. Average attempt for Georgia was 9.5. Auburn was 4.4. And average completion rating, 13.6 for Georgia and 8 yards for Auburn. One passing touchdown for Georgia, none for Auburn. That's basically what sealed the game. Besides the 2 turnovers, I mean, you take away the turnovers for Georgia, and with those numbers, I mean, this is a different ball game, but the point is turnovers still there. I mean, Auburn can't fucking throw the ball. They can't. I mean, their quarterback did okay because of the 161-yard run that he had earlier in the game. I mean, that's basically almost half of their entire rushing yards. So that number is a little blown out of proportion because 61 yards of the 219 yards was off of one play. So Georgia's defense didn't do horrible. They were just put in positions twice where they got the shitty end of the stick because our offense turned it over. And on one of the turnovers, both of the turnovers, Auburn went down and scored a touchdown. And I mean, you can't have that. I understand it puts our defense in a horrible spot, but you got to be able to get a stop there. But I mean, it's still very confusing. Carson Beck had good numbers for the game. Carson Beck was 23 of 33 and 1 interception. 69.7 completion rating for a total of 313 passing yards. His average was 9.5 yards. And one touchdown, 1 interception. And his longest pass was for 40 yards. Brock Bowers looked horrible. Not horrible. I don't think we utilized him in the first half. Second half, he looked like Superman. He looked like Brock Bowers. First half, 2 receptions for, what do I have here? 19 yards. 2 receptions for 19 yards. One was a pass for 16 yards, I believe, and the other was basically a run play. We handed it off to him in the backyard for 3 yards. Second half, 7 receptions, 148 yards, and a touchdown. So Brock Bowers balled out in the second half. Ladd McConkey did play tonight, or the game. It was good to see him. His numbers weren't crazy good because I feel like he was still very limited. He had 4 receptions for 38 yards, 9.5 average per attempt. So okay numbers for someone just coming back. So with that being said, like I said, Georgia obviously did win 27-20 on the road. Their first road game. They were tested. They went down early. They stayed composed and found a way to win the game. And I still have yet to know what to think about this team. I don't know what to think. I do know that they have good composure. It doesn't seem like even if they go down, they were down 14-0 to South Carolina. They stayed composed. They weren't rattled. They found a way to come back in and win the game. They found a way. They went down early. They found a way to stay in the game on the road in a hostile environment. And that Auburn crowd, those Auburn fans were going nuts. They found a way to win the game. And that's what matters at the end. Take away those 2 turnovers, maybe we're looking at this game differently. But the point is, turnovers are a part of the game. And Georgia committed 2. And Auburn took advantage of those 2 turnovers. So, not entirely happy about this game. I'm happy that they got the win. I'm not happy at the way that it went down. And I still have some major questions for Georgia moving forward throughout the season. Their next game is Kentucky. I'm still saying to this day, Kentucky looks good. So I would love to see them to clean up the turnovers. And I think if they can do that and play for the way that they played most, if Carson Beck can play the way, besides the one interception, obviously if you clean up the turnovers, he won't have that. You clean those up and you play the way that you played. You don't put our defense in a shitty situation. You're coming away from this game thinking that Georgia played a complete game on both sides of the ball. So we'll see come next week for Georgia. Like I said, I want to see a more complete game. Cut it out with the turnovers. We didn't commit too many penalties, so that's still good to see. But after 5 games, Georgia's still undefeated, 5-0. And I'm still scratching my head at what to expect for this team. I truly don't know. I'll tell you what, from here on out, unless Georgia proves me otherwise, I am never picking Georgia to cover. I don't care what the spread is. I'm not picking them to cover because they haven't been able to cover yet. So we'll see. Glad that Georgia's still undefeated, 5-0, moving on to the next. And other than that, over and out.